First nominee comes from an incident that happened earlier today at CPAC in which a participant...
I was there.
He was. In which a participant defended slavery at a minority outreach panel. The panel, entitled Trump the Race Card, Are You Sick and Tired of Being Called a Racist When You Know You're Not One? Exploded into controversy on Friday afternoon after an audience member defended slavery as good for African Americans. The exchange occurred after an audience member from North Carolina, 30-year-old Scott Terry, asked whether Republicans could endorse races remaining separate but equal. After the presenter, K. Carl Smith of the Frederick Douglass Republicans, answered by referencing a letter by Frederick Douglass forgiving his former master, the audience member said, "For what? For feeding and housing him?" After the exchange, Terry muttered under his breath, "Why can't we just have segregation?" noting the Constitution's protections for freedom of association. Think Progress then spoke with Terry afterward, who was sporting a Rick Santorum sticker and who was attending this conference with a friend wearing a Confederate flag emblazoned T-shirt about his views. Terry maintained that white people have been systematically disenfranchised by federal legislation. He also said that if society was, in fact, a place where African Americans were subservient to whites, how would he feel? And he said, "I would be fine with that," and claiming that African Americans should also be allowed to vote in Africa and that all the Tea Parties were concerned with the same racial problems that he is. Richard, what are your thoughts on that gem from the annual Conservative Political Action Conference?
I am completely, utterly, and totally speechless. America. I don't know what else to say. Like, I was at CPAC, and we're going to talk about it later on in the show, so don't worry. I'm going to tell you all my CPAC stories. But that, like, I don't know whether to laugh, whether to be offended. I just don't know.
That guy's bad even for CPAC.
Yeah.
Like,
except I was there last year. I'm not probably going to go this year because it's a little scary. But there's a lot of the overheard conversations you hear there walking around with people of color, especially. The stuff you hear people say as people pass by is pretty racist a lot of the time.
You can have my press pass if you want it.
Okay. That's good.
Now that I'm going back, that's a waste of my time. But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to tell my stories because it's just going to lure me to tell my stories. But I want to save that for later on in the show because I think they're funny stories. They're worth hearing. But I'm for once in my life, I'm completely, utterly, and totally speechless by this maniac.
The irony is really good too. This guy also claimed to be a direct descendant of President Jefferson Davis of the Confederacy, but it's ironic that when they have a minority outreach panel at CPAC, it devolves into people saying the most vile racist things in the whole world. It says a lot about the current incarnation of our Republican Party.